of information for y'all. Hi, everybody. That's Samantha with the Canyoneers. Here's my little opening slide. This is a picture I took, by the way, if you're interested. This is the Agua Dulce Loop up in the Cleveland National Forest. Absolutely stunning in the spring. Beautiful native flowers there. Let's see.
I'm just over
I got a clicker.
looking at that.
Check it out. Make sure it's all going good.
Yep, it's going good.
All right. Anyway, little introduction slide. That's little me. I'm the current president of the Canyoneers as of very recently, as of the end of June. So I've been, doing a lot of organizational work in the last month. I've been a Canyoneer since 2022. I keep going back between 2002 and 2022. My brain can't keep it straight for some reason. Anyway, born and raised in San Diego County, avid outdoor enjoyer since I was a kid. This is at Silver Lake in San Bernardino. My parents took us out every summer to go camping and hang out and chill in the river. So who are the Canyoneers? I'm here to talk to you all about the Canyoneers, the organization that I'm a part of. We are volunteers with the San Diego Natural History Museum. It's an entirely volunteer-run organization. We lead free interpretive hikes around San Diego County. We teach people about nature, the habitats around them. We've been offering guided hikes since 1973. So we've celebrated 50 years. Gosh, was it 2 years ago? I keep forgetting. But yeah, I think 2 years ago was our 50-year anniversary. Our group was started by a woman named Helen Shamley, who was a school teacher in San Diego County. She got involved originally with Florida Canyon. If everyone knows Florida Canyon, it's the canyon right by Balboa Park. They wanted to turn it into a parking lot for the zoo, and she took umbrage with that. So she's helped save Florida Canyon, so that's now that beautiful open space we have today. And she started leading hikes there, and that's what became the Canyoneer program for the Natural History Museum. So, what is an interpretive hike? We get people showing up for hikes being like, I'm ready to go hike 8 miles, full stop, and not stop at all. And we're like, well, there's a lot of stopping involved on a Canyoneer hike. We're not going. We're not the Sierra Club. We stop and look at things. So, we do interpretive hikes, which are focused on storytelling and information to help people learn about what's around them, specifically the habitats in San Diego County in our case. And by storytelling, we're weaving together this narrative about our county and the habitats, and a lot of that storytelling is about the survival characteristics of these plants and how they live in their environments. We all have a general plant knowledge base because plants don't move. So on hikes, there are birds, there are insects and mammals, but will you see them? I don't know. I can't pay them to show up every time. But the plants are always there. So most Canyoneers will know a general basis of plants, but a lot of people just get real interested in side tangents. We have one guy that loves geology, and I love whenever Dave is on hikes because I don't know anything about geology. I'm terrible at geology. But we have people that do birds or insects, or some people get really into ethnobotany. So everyone has kind of a little different thing they bring to the table. So where do we hike? Like I said, we hike in San Diego County, and that includes the coast. This is Sunset Cliffs. The Chaparral. This is beautiful Mission Trails. The mountains. This is out by Julian. This is the Stonewall Mine Loop. The desert. I believe this is by the 5 Palm Groves hike. And many more. If you look at that map, that's a map of all of our hikes last year. You can see that spread is all over San Diego County. We try and make sure we have a good range of different places we go so that, we have some desert rats in the group and they only want to do the desert, but we have people that love going to the mountains. I'm a marsh coastal person myself. I've gotten really invested in our local marshes and coastal hikes. And right here, I've got a little QR code. If you're interested, that's our 2025-26 hike list. I don't think it's up yet, but that's where it will be posted. If you don't want to take a photo, you can just Google the Natural History Museum Canyoneer, and that should bring you to our hike list. So how do we prepare for these hikes, right? We got to go out and tell people about these hikes. So we got to prepare for that beforehand. So about a week before, we go out on the trail as a group. We're checking trail conditions a lot of times, like if it's been really, really rainy, as we've had for a couple of years, maybe things have washed out. Maybe there's parts of the trails that have become inaccessible. We do one of my favorite parts, which is get together and we kind of identify and discuss plants along the trails. Maybe we've got newer people who don't know some plants, or maybe, San Diego's the most biodiverse county in the United States, in the world a little bit. So there's a lot to see. So there's a lot you don't know. So it's a great time to get with the other Canyoneers and be like, what do you think this is? I've never seen this plant before. Do you think it's in this plant family? Do you think it's in that plant family? So that's a really enjoyable part of the pre-hikes. And we utilize iNaturalist a lot of times to help identify things we might not know. And we also help it to make catalogs of flora and fauna for any Canyoneers that couldn't make it out for the pre-hike. So I heard a lot of you have been interested in using iNaturalist. So this is a little how-to on iNaturalist. I also have cards on the back table that are a beautiful little cheat sheet for using iNaturalist if you're interested. Yeah, beautiful Vanna Whiting back there. Thank you so much. Ooh, ah. So this is from the iNaturalist website. They have a beautiful new PowerPoint on how to use iNaturalist. This is just a little quick overview on how it works. You take a photo with their app. It suggests an ID of what it thinks that thing is, and then you're going to upload those observations to the website. Now to go a little more in depth, you take a photo. And you can do that directly in the app. You can just do it on your phone and upload those photos later. Or if you're a camera user like I am, you can take photos with your camera and upload them to the website online. Get an identification. iNaturalist pulls from its database, and based on the characteristics it's seeing in that photo, it'll suggest what it thinks that thing is. It's not always correct. A lot of times it'll sit there and go, dicot, 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 dicot. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware. I know that's a dicot. Thank you very much. But sometimes it'll give you a nice little identification on what it thinks that plant is. And here's what it'll look like. This is a great example of what it looks like on the app itself. So you can see you'll be looking at the plant. It'll bring up a little top thing of what it thinks it is. And then you get to the submittal stage, and it will show like what percentage it thinks it's accurate on for that ID or not, and then you can save that. Just a little, tons of people use this. There's 3.5 million people on iNaturalist currently, which is a great user base. And there's 415,000 people that have added identifications on that app. Here's just a little world map to show you what it looks like. It'll keep track of everything you've seen. Both you can see it on a world map, or you can see it as a beautiful little list like this. I find this really helpful because sometimes I lead hikes on places I've been before, so I can go back into my observations and see what I saw on the trail last time and give myself a little refresher. This person's really into tide pools, it seems like. And you can explore what everyone else has seen. So say you're looking for a native plant that you don't know where it is, but you'd love to see, say, a chocolate lily. You can go online, look for chocolate lily, and see where other people have seen chocolate lilies, what time of year they've seen those lilies, the general location and everything, which is really great. Let's see if we'll do that. There we go. Anyway, here's two examples. Here's a specimen that was collected in, 1906. They haven't collected any new specimens since then, but there's 46 observations that they've found on iNaturalist. So they can tell that that species is still around and where it's found in habitats. And then next to it, another thing they track is invasive species. Invasive species get a foothold very quickly. So they look for things like, for example, this iris that was first seen on a naturalist as a new record in February 2021. And he can now add that to his plant record as we're starting to see this invasive species in San Diego County.
It's pretty.
It is very pretty.
Yellow one too. The yellow one as well, white and yellow.
White and yellow? Sorry.
It's the same variety, but it's different color.
Oh, yeah. I think so. To answer your question, just really quick on invasive species. This is one of my trail spiels. Not all non-native species are invasive, but all invasives are non-native species. Invasive plants get into the habitat and they quickly take over the environment. And there's several reasons why that's bad. If they're a tall species, they can outcompete a lot of smaller wildflowers or other plants for resources. Some of them can even have chemicals in the root system that inhibits the growth of their plants. They could be highly flammable. They could, a lot of our plants, native plants, are meant to go through a dying cycle or be evergreen, and they're a lot more fire tolerant than a lot of those grasses and everything. So if the environment's just non-natives, it becomes extremely flammable. They also have shorter root systems. So a lot of our native plants have very, very deep root systems to be able to survive in a low water habitat. And a lot of these invasives don't. And so that really matters on hillsides and stuff. You get more landslides and a lot more erosion in areas where there's a lot more invasives than there are natives. For example, those beautiful Dudley flowers we've seen are perfect for hillsides. They have huge, giant root systems, and they love literally just be vertical on a cliff. That's their favorite place to be. So those are really, really important for habitat erosion purposes. Anyway, that's my little invasive plant spiel. Let's see. Okay, I know. Just trying to make sure I've got enough time for everything. So native plants on the trail. I just thought I'd give you guys a little walkthrough of a couple trails and some native plants that I've seen on those trails. Like I said, I'm a photographer by hobby, so I take my camera out most pre-hikes and take photos. Mostly because I enjoy it, but it also helps me send it to other canyoneers and be like, look what we saw on the trail, or we'll post it to. We have a Canyoneer Natural History Museum Facebook page, so we'll post photos there before hike to be like, look what you can see on this hike. We saw these beautiful flowers and these really cool trees, and come to the hike. Come see these in person. So this is me in front of a giant ocotillo that was in Mexico, near Mexicali. I went on a little hike there with my boyfriend's family. It's basically the same habitat, right? Habitat has no border, like our habitat and, Mexico's habitat, the exact same thing. There's just a kind of fence that runs through it. But yeah, so there's a lot of the stuff that's just like Anza-Borrego out there as well. So we'll start coastally. I talked a little bit about Florida Canyon earlier. That's sort of our home base canyon. This is also my home canyon. I live near Morley Field, so I go out there quite frequently and just take a little ramble in a very urban little canyon. Coastal sage scrub is the habitat. It's characterized by low-growing scrubs. They're usually aromatic and very drought tolerant. It's sometimes called soft chaparral because if you go into the inland chaparral, a lot of those leaves are much waxier and tougher than the coastal ones. And the coastal sage scrub is actually named after the coastal sage brush, which I'll have a slide on and I'll talk a little bit about later, which is a very soft little aromatic aster. These are some beautiful little prickly pear that are in that canyon at sunset. Cactuses are so gorgeous at sunset when the sun just highlights the edge of all those spines. It's my favorite thing to take photos of. So here we've got a little beautiful bouquet. This is sitting out at Florida Canyon in the spring. That's some black sage. We've got a sticky monkey flower, bush monkey flower is the red in there. And then California sunflowers. as well. That's really beautiful. It's right out after you get out of the dog park, is right where that is, and it's such a gorgeous little spot. And then I'm a birder as well as a plant fiend. So there's a beautiful little spotted towhee that's in the canyon, surrounded by a laurel sumac. Laurel sumacs you'll see quite frequently inland. If anyone's heard of them, they have that beautiful red tinge to them. They're in the same plant family as poison oak. They're not poisonous to the touch, or they're not reactive to the touch. They don't have the same oils.
Depends. There's people who are very highly sensitive.
Well, there are people that are, yes, people that, the cashews are also in that plant family. So if you're a person that's very reactive to poison oak and cashews, I wouldn't touch anything in that plant family. Most people aren't going to have a reaction to it in general. This is a plant we talk about a lot on the trails because, again, it's one of those plants you just see everywhere. It's an evergreen. It's always has leaves. And birds love this plant. I love going, when I go birding, I look in the laurel sumacs if there's some seeds on there. It's a great place to go birding because all the little songbirds will be up at the top, like trying to get all the seeds, all the little tiny bush tits, which are some of my favorites, are goldfinches. And people like this little spotted towhee, which you'll see in spotted towhees in canyons, but usually not in gardens. They don't like fractured spaces, so they tend to stay in like a contiguous wild space. But they're a really beautiful little bird in the sparrow family with this like rust tummy and the spotted wings. Next slide. I don't know if a lot of you have heard of ceanothuses. Probably you have, the California lilacs. This is the one that you see most coastally. This is the wart-stemmed ceanothus. It's all through Florida Canyon. It's one of the earliest bloomers in the ceanothus. So this is blooming like early in the spring. Gorgeous white flowers. I mean, absolutely stunning when you see like the whole hillside of ceanothus in bloom, especially if the chamise get in on the game too, because they're also got a beautiful little white bloom. Next, it's the lemonade berry, which is super, super common. Another plant we talk about quite frequently on the trails. It's a relative of the laurel sumac. Berries do taste like lemons. They're very sour. They're really fun. But again, warning that I give on the trails, don't try anything when you're not near a hospital. You don't know if you're going to have a reaction to something. So on the trails, we'll talk a lot about like edible plants and medicinal plants. But I always give that spiel like, please don't try anything while we're out on the trail. Also, most of California state and federal parks are protected from foraging like fairly heavily. But they have these beautiful little tiny pink blooms. You'll see that pretty frequently with native plants. They all have very small blooms because it takes a lot of energy to make a flower. So the strategy of putting out a lot of small blooms is much more energy efficient than putting out big showy blooms. Let's see. Two others that I've seen in Florida Canyon. We've got the Parrish's nightshade over there. It's in the same family as tomatoes. Our native one's this beautiful purple color. You'll see the white ones, which are invasive on trails sometimes too, but our natives are that beautiful purple bloom. Next to it are the blue dicks. These are my mom's favorite flowers. My mom adores these. So anytime I'm out, I have to take photos of these and send them to her. Be like, Mom, look, I saw them. It's blue dick season. It's time to go out and see them on the trails. These beautiful little multi-flowered purple heads. And they rise up so tall over the other plants around them. You see some buckwheat, some like that was brought over there. That's the flat top of California buckwheat. There's that beautiful California sagebrush. I love California sagebrush. A lot of canyoneering and plant identification when you're out is smell. So a lot of times you'll see me out on the trail. I'm just like grabbing things and rubbing them between my fingers and like smelling as I'm walking around. This is one of them. I will, even if I've done the identification already, I'll be like, ooh, give me some of that little sagebrush. Smells really nice. It is a sunflower. It is not a true sage. So it's not a salvia. It's in the Asteraceae family. And yeah, I think they're really gorgeous. So I was talking about the coastal plants are a lot softer, right? The reason is because they're so soft and hairy, they can take advantage of that inland fog, or that morning fog, the morning dew that comes off the ocean, and they can collect it on their leaves and bring it down to their roots, so they have another source of water, considering we're in Mediterranean climate, long dry summers, wet winters. Next to it's my favorite kind of yarrow. I love these golden yarrows. They're so beautiful. They're these little tiny little blooms. But they have that very typical sunflower look to them. And I love seeing them on the trails. Let's see. Okay, 2 more. This one I had not expected this, and I don't see this pretty much anywhere else. This is a miniature vetch species. If anyone's seen the vetches, they're in the pea family. You see them a lot on trails. Usually, I think the Santa Barbara milk vetch is the one people see most often. It's that white one that has those like kind of pea flowers. But there's a bunch of purple types of vetches, and this miniature one I found in Florida Canyon, and I've never seen it anywhere else, and it's teeny tiny. It's like the size of the end of my fingernail is how big those flowers are. They're absolutely tiny. It's so cute, but they'd all make huge pea pods. They get pods like that big. So such a small little flower. And next to this, another shot of that beautiful black sage with those purple flowers. Great for bees. This is our California native bumblebee. I'm a little bit obsessed with native bees as well as native plants. I don't know if you guys knew, but there's 700 species of native bees in San Diego County and counting. And I think there's like 1,500 in California. And most native bees need native plants to survive. They will not feed on introduced plants in gardens. So they need stuff like this California black sage to eat, and like for white sages for housing, because these guys are individual nesters, so they'll nest in soil or they'll nest in like plant stalks. So yeah, the relationship's really close between our native bees and our native plants. All right, we're moving out to the chaparral. We've left the coast. We're going a little bit inland. It's characterized by low-growing shrubs that have small, hard, waxy leaves. And chaparral comes from chaparro, or small oak in Spanish, which is very good naming. If you see my scrub oak shirt, scrub oaks are these little tiny oaks that grow in the canyons and out in the chaparral. And this is out at Oak Oasis, one of my favorite hikes. I adore Oak Oasis. It's beautiful. It's right across from El Capitan. You'll drive down there, El Capitan parking lot, full. No parking. All the dudes in their big muscle shirts and their backpacks, they're like, oh, I'm going to go conquer the Tim Mountain. You go across the street, this parking lot, empty. Beautiful ceanothus and oaks and everything, and it's shady and such a stunning trail. So this is a view of I forget what lake that is, but it's a view of the lake from the top of that trail. Got some invasive mustard here and some laurel sumacs and some other plants. So here's some of that beautiful ceanothus. There's several species of ceanothus at Oak Oasis. This is a pretty common one. It's the chaparral whitethorn. It's one of my favorites, though. Look how gorgeous. It's a blue, icy, like blue-purple color. And right next to it is a lakeside ceanothus. That was identified and cataloged based off of an iNaturalist post. John Revman found that species through some iNaturalist posting, and it's since been, it's like a recent addition as a subspecies. And it's got these really dark blue-purple blooms. It's really gorgeous. Ceanothus are great. They're also, I've heard a lot of your Native Plant Society people, so you've probably heard these spiels, but it's really cool because it's a nitrogen fixer for the soil, much like the pea family is. So it's a really important plant for the trails, especially in fire-prone areas, because a lot of useful nitrogen gets used up in fires. So these guys are great for making sure that the soil health is good post a fire. What else we got? Our new San Diego County plant. Yeah, the blue-eyed grass. Woohoo! Boo! No, I'm just kidding. I was pulling for the California sunflowers. I was pulling for them. But the blue-eyed grass is a gorgeous little plant too. I just think it's much harder to see. I only see this in the chaparral and up in like mountain transition zones, really, and it's blooms for a really short period of time. It's not a grass. I believe it's in the iris family.
How do they know it's a native plant versus someone brought in the seed and dropped it there?
Because we have a historical catalog of plants in the area, right? Like I said, the museum's been operating since the 1800s, and the Spaniards before that have written about stuff. The Kumei. I think there must be also some like research that helps them identify like the region where plants came from, but I'm not as familiar with how that research works. But yeah, and there's some things that we historically know because like the Spaniards wrote, we brought mustard. And so we're like, okay, you brought the mustard. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, yeah, blued grass next to it. Beautiful San Diego peas. These are so gorgeous. They're climb on other plants around them and trail. Another pea family, of course, with these beautiful little pink blossoms. I love seeing these guys. And most of these plants are spring bloomers. We do have some fall bloomers, but I'm not sure if I put any of them in here. Let's see. Ooh, Virgin's Bower Clematis. There's some beautiful clematis out there. They're also kind of climb around, and they have these beautiful starburst-looking flowers and seeds. And then up close, one of those monkey flowers from earlier. Hummingbirds love these. You will see hummingbirds on these. The monkey flowers are a really interesting adaptation for capturing pollen. So I don't know if you guys can see, like right here, there's this little white part. Can people kind of see that? Right there. And it's kind of open like this. It looks like a little open spot. When that gets brushed against, it closes itself up. And if it's captured pollen, then it'll stay closed, and then it starts the process of becoming a seed. If it didn't get pollinated, it'll open back up and wait for another pollinator to land. So it's a really cool little plant adaptation from this plant. We've got a checker bloom. There's some more native bees having a tussle in that. It was really funny to watch them. They really were having a little tussle over this flower. I'm not sure why. They're getting covered in the pollen from those beautiful little checker blooms. Next to it's another one that I love to feel and smell. This is the bush rue. This is one of our only native citruses. So this is in the citrus family. You see the little berries, these little red, yellow berries, and it smells super citrusy. Like you just touch and rub the leaves and you're like, oh my god, this smells like an orange. And it's got these beautiful little 4 white petaled flowers. And I only see these really mountain transition, but I have seen some in the Tijuana River Valley, which is super fascinating to me. Some chia, if anyone's seen chia, that's a seed plant that was used by the Kumei for food and water source quite frequently. Beautiful dark blue. That's one of the only places I've seen chia so far in San Diego County, but I'm still learning. I'm still new. I see things everywhere. And one of my favorite yucca blooms, the chaparral yucca, it has these stunning little like lily-looking flowers, and they'll be covered in moths when they're open because these are only pollinated by one species of white moth, small white moth, and they only pollinate these plants. All right, we're moved out of the chaparral. We're in the kind of mountain forest zone. The keystone of these areas are lots of pines, and then there's black oaks in inland. It's the scrub and the coast live oaks. In the mountains, it's black oaks. And the black oaks were historically one of the favorite oaks of the Kumei. If anyone knows, the Kumei diet was very heavily based around acorns, and the black oaks were a favorite acorn of the Kumei. Beautiful little stand of Jeffrey pines out there. If anyone hasn't smelled a Jeffrey pine, go smell a Jeffrey pine. They smell like butterscotch. So here's that black oak, I was saying. A lot of our local oaks kind of have that more like a round cupped leaf or an oval cupped leaf look, but these have that beautiful lobed oak leaf to it. I do this hike frequently in fall. It's back on the schedule for fall this year, so if anyone's interested in Stonewall Mine, gorgeous, very flat, very easy to hike, and there's actually quite a lot to see botanically even in the fall in this hike. You see, I love taking pictures of those black oaks with the light through them. Like, it just glows. They're so beautiful. We've got a species of manzanita. There are tons of species of manzanita out in the mountains. Coastally, we just have the mission manzanita, but in the mountains, we've got big berry, we've got these point leaf, we've got a million species that I can't remember because I have a hard time with. I'm still not up on my like manzanita identification. That one still gets me. I'm like, I could tell you it's a manzanita. Which species? Oh, a little shakier on. But they have those beautiful little bell-shaped flowers. Another one that's a favorite for native bees. And the next to it's a mountain mahogany. This one's in seed, which is my favorite version of the mountain mahogany because it gets these little feathery curly cues that look like a little feather. And they just glow in the light. And mountain mahogany leaves are also quite pretty. These little leaves with like V-shaped veins up through it. And then we've got a native milkweed species. I see these quite frequently in the mountains. So if anyone's ever in the mountains, look out for the woolly milkweed. I still haven't seen a caterpillar on them yet, but I've seen like little milkweed bugs on those in the mountains. These ones were all dried out by the time we did this hike, but I have seen them in bloom as well. Just recently on the Agua Dulce hike I went on. And next to it, actually, these were kind of next to each other on the hike, too. This was a California goldenrod, which, again, I've only really seen these in the mountains. Beautiful little aster species. Speaking of asters, California aster. Straightforward. Does what it says on the tin. It's an aster. And then next to it's stunning. Again, another one I've really only seen on this hike is a sapphire woolly star. These beautiful dark blue flowers. Pretty small. It's like that tall. But yeah, I see this blooming in the fall mostly. And then we talked about buckwheat earlier. The mountains have a ton of different kinds of buckwheat. Coastally I see mostly California buckwheat, flat top buckwheat, but in the mountains, here's two species out of, I think we found 4 different species or 5 different species of buckwheat on this trail. So we've got this beautiful these are tiny. They're like this, let's do it for the camera here. Like this tall, teeny. But they're beautiful. They grow up along the stem, these beautiful like little rust-colored flowers. And then this is a long-stemmed buckwheat, which has almost the flowers as like little pom-poms going up those stems. And it also has this beautiful like blue-green color, which is very common in native plants. Blue-green helps reflect the sun as a color tone. So this blue-green color is really common in California native plants. And we moved out of those mountains, gone down to the desert. This is another one that's on our schedule for this year. One of my favorite, the 5 Palm Grove, Toroti Bowl kind of area. Most people think desert. You don't think, well, there's not that many plants there. It's very dry. Not all that grows there. But within those, there's like washes where the water comes through. There's some fantastic plants. Great winter hiking for a lot of this. Very common, but I adore them. This is the California barrel cactus. It gets almost this beautiful little wreath of flowers at the top when it's in bloom, and they almost look pink. Like they have a really like pink tone overall to them. Bighorn sheep will actually eat these, which is really cool. I saw bighorn sheep do it. They'll knock it over with their horns, and then they'll eat from the inside of the cactus. It's really cool. Got another little, I think that's a hoverfly actually. There's a lot of bee mimic flies that are also pollinators that are really cool. Let's see, got a brittle bush, very common in the desert. I think people use them pretty frequently in landscaping coastally, but they don't really grow coastally. I tend to see them mostly in the desert. It's this beautiful little sunflower with that kind of, like I said, the blue, gray, green color foliage. And a creosote next to it, which is very common in the desert. There's a lot of insects that the creosotes support. There's like a creosote beetle. Got these really cute little puff, like pom-pom seeds to it. Like many of the desert plants, really small leaves, kind of spiky or thorny a little bit. Chuparosa. If anyone wants to see some hummingbirds in the desert, the Costa's hummingbirds with the purple throats, they love those chuparosas, which I think does mean hummingbird in Spanish as well. And the next to it, desert lavender, which I hadn't seen until I did this hike. We went out of the wash up into this cliffside, and it was like someone had planted a garden. It was that gorgeous. It looked just like perfectly like curated, and there's all these big like desert lavender through the sides. There was milkweeds and brittle bushes and like daisies. Oh my god, it was absolutely stunning. So here's a super rare tree for our deserts, and they're only found in like a few spots along this hike specifically. They're elephant trees. They look like a Dr. Seuss plant. They look like Dr. Seuss made a tree. They're actually related to the myrrh plants, like the baby Jesus story, myrrh. And yeah, there's like, I think there's like 5 of them at the top of this cliff. And then I think one bowl over, there's like another 10 or something. They're super, super rare. Then we've got an ocotillo, like the one I was standing in front of earlier. These guys can be bare for a lot of the year, but then in the spring they'll start getting flowers, and they get these beautiful red inflorescence at the ends of their stalks. I think there's a hummingbird sitting up there. Oh yeah, there's one right at the top of that. Hummingbirds, if you get into birding, hummingbirds are the easiest to spot. They'll sit right at the top of something and just shout. They're like, I'm here and this is my territory, go away. So they are the easiest bird to find if you're getting into birding. See? Oh, another one that I hadn't seen until I went to this hike. This is a Bigelow's monkey flower. So monkey flowers can be found in the desert as well. Monkey flowers are all over San Diego County. But that's a desert species, specifically Bigelow's monkey flower. We found this little field of them, and you see there's not a lot of foliage. They have very small leaves, and they kind of just stick right up out of the sand and then have their little flowers hanging out there. And then here's the California fan palms, which this hike's named from. There's 5 different groves of them. Really cool biodiversity in these groves. They support a lot of mosses and ferns when it's wet enough. A lot of birds. I saw a beautiful oriole. I think it was a Scots oriole out there when we were out there. They do have dates hanging off of them. There's beautiful little shade zones that they create, and they're just really cool to see. These are our only native palm trees in California. The other palm trees are introduced. How much time do I have? I'll give a little spiel about it. I've got a little bit of time, but I love my trail tale about the California palms and how they came to be. Because in the 1900s, the California Agriculture Society was trying to find new crop species to get money from. And they looked at the Indio Valley Desert and went, what if we put some date palms here? And so date palms were introduced to the desert in the 1900s. Well, that area is very close to Hollywood. A lot of actors would go down there to escape Hollywood for a little bit. And those towns also, to help draw those tourists, started naming themselves Mecca and Oasis, and they dress up how they thought Middle Eastern people would look and served what they thought Middle Eastern people would serve, and they brought camels and all sorts of stuff. So they dressed it all up. So and that was a part of, there was a very big Middle Eastern like craze in the United States in like the 20s. If you ever looked at like 20s jewelry or wear, like there's a lot of Egyptian inspired stuff, a lot of Middle Eastern inspired stuff. You've got the movies of like Lawrence of Arabia and Cleopatra. And then in the I think it's the 1930s, the Olympics were in LA. And the Mexican fan palms were cheap. And so they planted Mexican fan palms all around LA to kind of spruce up LA and make it look really nice for people coming in. And when people came into LA for the Olympics, they were like, wow, California sure has a lot of palm trees. And that cemented the palm tree as the tree of California, even though, again, our native fan palms are only found in washes in our deserts. So little trail tale for you. That's one of the ones I like to give a spiel on when we're out and about. Cool. So that's through my photo section. Now, if you're interested in joining the Canyoneers, maybe some of you are interested. You don't have to join us, but you could come out to hikes with us if you want without joining our rank and our numbers. But if you would like to, volunteer applications are currently open. They take applications for volunteers from April to August. There are training for the Canyoneers that starts in September and goes through November. We have a nice little graduation ceremony for people when they get through the training. The training is every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Long block of time, but you learn so much. I had so much fun in my training classes. They bring in Canyoneers and museum staff to tell people about like botany, the habitats in San Diego County, reptiles, insects, birds, mammals, like you name it. They're going to teach you a little class on it. And then half of it includes going outside for a little hike with the green team, which is experienced Canyoneers who will take people out and be like, teach you about like what's in the trail around you before you have to go out and help teach the public. There's a little QR code that'll take you to the application if you're interested. You can also go to the Natural History Museum website, and under volunteers, you can find that information. Yeah, woohoo! I talked real quick. By the way, couldn't help but include this guy. This is the one time I've seen bighorn sheep up close in the desert. We saw 7 of them, like literally where I am, to like the second row of chairs is where the bighorn sheep.
Usually they don't want people
No,
to get that
there was 3 of us, and there was like a huge group of them, and it was green and lush, and they were just interested in eating. They didn't care that we were there. So yeah, there's this beautiful male chomping down on a plant over here. Anyway, Q&A time. We got questions. I got answers, maybe.
How arduous are the hikes?
Sorry?
How arduous are the hikes?
So we've got a mix, and we make sure to list that on the website. So I got the question for the video. How arduous are the hikes? On our schedule list, it'll let you know the mileage. So if it's a 2-miler, a 3-miler, we do go as long as 8 miles, but those are very rare, very rare. Those are some desert hikes. I think the general longest is about 6 miles, but we do have quite a few, like 2 to 3 milers or 2 to 4 milers. And the schedule will tell you if it's a easy, medium, or hard hike, and it'll give you a little hike description. So it'll say this is mostly flat through, a shaded area, or this is waterfall scrambling for 8 miles in the desert, and don't get lost. So there's quite a range, and the listing will tell you that. As like I said, we'll also give you like a little spiel on like what's interesting about this hike or what's special about the hike. So it'll be on the hike schedule. Hi, yeah.
Is the Seek app associated with you or not?
So I got the question, is the Seek app associated with us, the Nat? So the Seek app is associated with iNaturalist, and iNaturalist we partner with, but we're not necessarily like running iNaturalist. iNaturalist is a nonprofit of its own. So Seek, the app, connects to iNaturalist, and it talks to it, and that's the database where it's pulling its information on. If you have the newest iNaturalist app, it's actually like Seek is built into it, so you don't have to use Seek anymore. Here, I can pull it up really quick on my phone. It might be a little hard to see, but
Yeah, because I used to use the iNaturalist, but it was so slow. So maybe I should upload the
yeah, so this is the new one. It's got a green icon with a white bird, and if you click it, there's a plus at the bottom, and there's a camera with sparkles next to it. And that's the iNaturalist AI camera, which is similar to Seek. And it's going to try and look for plants or animals here. Let's see if I pointed the bighorn. Let's see if it thinks it's something. Oh, it is. It says bighorn sheep. There we go. So that'll give you a very similar thing as the iNaturalist app.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any more questions? Hi.
So the app will tell you when and where and how often you go when we apply for it?
Oh, yes. Sorry. So are you asking about how often we go on hikes or?
Yes, and where and when? Where do you meet?
Okay. Yes. So I got the question of if the app tells people about when we go on hikes. Not the iNaturalist app, but the Natural History Museum website has that information. So if you go to Natural History Museum to the Canyoneers page, they'll post all of our hikes for the season. It's not quite up yet. I have a feeling within the next week or so it should be up, because we take a break July, August, because it's hot and we don't want people out in the heat. But we start back up in September. So September is when some of our first hikes are going, and we tend to do a lot of coastal hikes for the first few months just to let that heat dissipate a little more before we head out into the mountains or the desert. Hi.
Does the iNaturalist app have a built-in geolocation?
Yeah, so the iNaturalist app, it uses your phone data for geolocation. So I think you have to make sure that you allow location data on your phone. But it'll pull that location data and then it will include the geolocation information. If you don't have that approved, you can manually set your location on iNaturalist. So you can look at the map. If you know generally where you think you are, you can kind of set it. I used to have to do that with my camera photos because my camera did not have a geolocation feature within it, because I had a really old Canon Rebel XTI from like 2003 that I was using for birding in the last few years. I just updated it, but I used to have to like generally be like, okay, I remember I was on this part of the hike and on the trail, and I have to do that for every photo. It was such a hassle. Any more questions? Hi.
How many Canyoneers do you have?
Ooh, good questions. I got a question. How many Canyoneers do we have? Our active roster is about 50. We have about 50 active people. And then I think we have like 100 something on our website, but we have some people that are like done it for years and years and years, can't go out on the trail anymore, but they still show up for meetings or they participate in other ways. But yeah, so we have about like 50 active members who are signing up for hikes and going out on hikes during the year. Good question. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? I got any more questions? Going once, going twice. No?
I have a question, but it's not about that. It's about your earrings. You made them.
I made them, yes.
So is that part of the training you get to learn?
No, that's I have too many hobbies, and jewelry making is one of them.
Okay. Well, they're beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, California poppies.
Yes, fantastic. This was so good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Wasn't this great, you guys?
You guys were lovely, really. Oh, you're such a good audience. Thank you.
So good. So, did you get a ticket?
Oh, raffle ticket?
Yeah.
I did not.
We're gonna get you one.
Okay.
Yay! So, Kathy, would you like to run the raffle?
I need to get to the lake before I see something. Are you going to the tomato farm?
All right.
I think it's next week.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Get something.
Really limited.
Oh, let me stop the
program. You can go ahead and take the item.